Today, we are going to talk about the appropriate way to hinge at your hips and squat down when you're holding a baby or picking up toys. So, what I want to do first is have Jennifer hold the stick along her spine, and I want you to bend forward as if you're going to pick up your baby. All right, and come back up. Notice how the stick comes up off of her buttocks as she goes forward. Try one more time. And then as she comes up, it's all back muscles that are working. I want to teach her how to hinge at her hips. Her knees and hips bend. And now she becomes a seesaw. So center of gravity stays in the middle. And then push with your legs to come back up. Okay, let's try that, Jennifer. So hinging at your hips. And then push through your legs so quads and glutes do absolutely everything. Try that again. Excellent. Now we have Cash here, so she can practice shifting side to side. When you're doing this, you're going to press your one foot into the ground as she allows all the weight to go into the other leg, and then push off and accept weight. Push off and accept weight. Now she feels every ounce of Cash in her legs instead of her back. Now let's just show you how people do it incorrectly. So shift over to the hips to the left, hips to the right, and notice how there's so much movement and you're not using your legs like you could be. So when you do it correctly, now do it correctly, you are doing your exercises without having to carve more time out to do some of your exercises. Okay, so when we are working with holding our babies when you're sitting, whether you're breastfeeding or just loving on your baby, what I want you to know is you can do this and not have extra pain. So one thing you want to do is make sure your feet are on a surface. If they don't rest flat on the floor, then you're using other muscles instead of settling into your feet. The other thing you want to make sure that you look at is, are the armrests high enough so you can truly relax your arm and enjoy your baby instead of having to hold the baby up. When you hold the baby up, you're using extra back muscles and neck muscles, and we don't want you to have to worry about that kind of pain so you can enjoy your baby. All right, this is great until you actually have to move. So I'm going to bring the pillow out, and I'm going to move her footrest, and I want you to scoot your hips forward to the front of the chair. Excellent. And now what you're going to do is hinge forward at your hips. That's it. And look at the ground. Don't look forward. Push with your legs to come up into our neutral position you've already learned. Very frequently when they come up, our mamas tend to push their pelvis forward and takes them out of efficient alignment. So sit back down, hover down. Beautiful. And one more time. Hinge forward, nose over toes, looking at the ground. Push through your legs to come up to neutral. Perfect. So from the side, in order to go from sitting to standing and holding your baby, you're going to walk your hips forward a little bit. And then you're going to hip hinge like you learned, keeping your spine straight. There you go, pushing through your legs to stand up, and then sit back down. Beautiful. So hinge forward, looking at the ground or at your baby. Press with your feet to come up, using your glutes and your quads to be in the right position. Again, not letting her pelvis shift forward, creating a shelf to hold the baby. So there are a lot of different kind of carriers you can get. No matter what carrier you use, you want to make sure that your spine, your rib cage, and pelvis are stacked on top of each other. So all the weight of the baby goes into your feet and legs. So here, with this carrier, the tendency is to lock your knees and press your pelvis forward. If I were to push down on her, she would be even less stable. So what I'm going to have her do is to have weight in the middle of her feet, knees unlocked, not bent but unlocked, And then I want her ribs and pelvis to line up. Now if I were to press down on her, she's solid as a rock. And she's enjoying her baby being close to her. Now when you're looking at buying a carrier, there are slings, there are front carriers, back carriers. But no matter what carrier you get, you want to make sure that you have the belt that helps you have the weight on your pelvis. If it's too high up, it's going to hurt your low back and pull on your low back. So you want to have the belt here on your pelvis, and then you want to have support on your shoulders and shoulder girdles so that the weight is dispersed all the way down to the feet. Okay, ladies, now we have to make sure we correctly and efficiently move our baby from our arms into these carriers that are awesome and keep our baby safe, but they're far from ergonomic. So what we're going to do, just like we taught Jennifer and Cash how to hip hinge before, she's going to hip hinge close to the carrier, come back up, now come a little closer, hip hinge. Once you're down there, you're going to move the baby into the carrier. And then when you stand back up, you're going to keep looking at the baby and push with your feet up. Okay, now the baby is safely in the carrier. We want to be able to pick the carrier up and move the baby with as little stress on your back as possible. So you're going to hip hinge down and grab the carrier on either end. Pull the carrier close to your body, then push with your legs to come up. Beautiful. And then hinge down and let go. Perfect. Now we're going to show you how to move the baby using the ergonomic handle, okay? So your principles for moving anything are to hip hinge like we've been teaching you. We've talked about keeping the weight close to your body, but the other thing is you want to think about having lights, laser beams, on your shoulders, both shoulders and both hips. And you want all 4 laser beams to light up your baby or the task that you're doing. So you're going to hip hinge down and grab the arm and then push with your legs. And when you go to leave, you're going to pivot on your feet, yes, and leave with your laser beams facing the baby. Now, when you come back to put the baby carrier back on the stroller, you're going to repeat in the opposite direction. So hinge down, and then you can let go and push with your legs to come back up. Okay, now we're home and we want to get the baby out of the baby carrier. So hinge at your hips. Now, this time bring the baby close to you. And then push through your feet and think about your knees not going towards each other but away from each other when you go to stand up. This engages your glutes much more and it decreases any tension or problems with the inside of your knee.